Have you ever looked into the eyes of someone you've known your entire life and suddenly couldn't remember their name? Not because you didn't care, not because you weren't paying attention, but because the name simply wasn't there. That moment isn't just embarrassing. It's deeply frightening. It feels like a small piece of who you are has quietly disappeared. And what makes it even worse is that most people don't notice how it begins. At first, it seems harmless. You forget why you walked into a room. You misplace your keys more often. You struggle to recall a word that used to come easily. Then one day, you pause while trying to remember a familiar name or an important date, and something inside you tightens. In that moment, you realize this isn't just forgetfulness. It feels like you're losing connection to your life, to the people you love, and slowly, to yourself. What's most painful is that almost everyone ignores these early signs. They tell themselves it's normal. They blame stress, poor sleep, or getting older. They're told by others, and sometimes even by doctors, that this is just how life works. But here is a truth most people never hear clearly enough. This is not normal, and it is not inevitable. There are simple, science-inspired actions that can be started today, not tomorrow, not someday, that help protect memory, mental clarity, and real brain strength even later in life. And that's exactly what this video is about. Welcome to Conscious Awareness, a place where we uncover practical, honest methods that support the brain instead of frightening people with worst-case scenarios. No miracle pills, no exaggerated promises, just understanding how the brain actually works and how to care for it properly. If you don't just want to maintain your memory, but want to remain sharp, alert, and mentally present in a way that surprises people around you, stay with me until the end. What you're about to learn can change the entire direction of how your mind ages. But before we go further, you need to understand what is quietly happening inside the brain long before serious memory problems appear. Memory rarely disappears suddenly. It fades slowly and almost politely. You don't wake up one day feeling completely different. Instead, the changes happen in small, easily dismissed moments. Today, you forget the name of a new neighbor. Tomorrow, the title of a book you were just reading. Another day, you find yourself standing in the kitchen, unsure whether you turned off the stove. Each moment seems insignificant on its own, but together they form a pattern. Many people assume the cause is stress or lack of sleep, and while those play a role, the deeper issue is often something far more physical and overlooked. Over time, blood flow to the brain begins to decline. Oxygen delivery becomes less efficient. Neural connections weaken. Brain cells, which depend on constant nourishment and stimulation, begin to starve. This process can take years, which is why so many people miss the chance to intervene early. The brain is the most complex system you will ever own, far more intricate than any machine or technology ever created. Just like the heart or lungs, it requires daily care. But unlike other organs, the brain suffers silently when neglected. Little by little, without pain or warning, it begins to shut down parts of itself to conserve energy. This is not aging. This is deprivation. Yet one man refused to accept that this decline was unavoidable. He believed the brain could remain strong, adaptable, and responsive far longer than people were told. His work would later influence how we understand movement, circulation, and brain health today. The man's name was Alexander Mikulan, and he was not a doctor by training. He was an engineer, someone who spent his life studying systems, mechanics, and how complex structures fail over time. What fascinated him most was not machines, but the human body, especially the brain. He noticed something strange in people around him. Many of them were mentally declining even though they had no clear illness, no major trauma, and no obvious reason for such rapid loss of clarity. Mikulan believed the problem was not age itself, but stagnation. He observed that modern life slowly removes natural movement from the body. People sit for long hours, move less, and breathe more shallowly than previous generations. Over time, this reduces circulation, especially to the brain. Without strong blood flow, the brain simply cannot function at its best, no matter how intelligent or educated a person once was. What made his idea controversial was how simple it was. He believed the brain does not need constant stimulation or complicated exercises to survive. It needs proper circulation. Blood delivers oxygen, nutrients, and the signals that keep neural networks alive. When circulation weakens, The brain begins to conserve energy by shutting down less used connections. This is when memory, focus, and clarity begin to fade. He noticed something else that most people overlook. The brain has no muscles of its own to pump blood. It relies heavily on movement from the body, especially the lower body and the posture of the spine, to maintain strong circulation. When posture collapses and movement disappears, blood struggles to reach the upper regions of the brain efficiently. Over years, this creates a slow but steady decline. This explains something that had confused doctors for decades: why some people remain mentally sharp well into later life, while others decline much earlier, even with similar genetics and lifestyles. The difference was not intelligence or education. It was daily physical engagement and the way the body was used throughout the day. Mikulan began experimenting with himself. Instead of intense workouts or long routines, he focused on short, intentional movements that activated circulation. He noticed that after just a few minutes, his mind felt clearer, his thoughts sharper, and his energy more stable. Over time, these small practices became daily habits, and the changes compounded. What's important here is not the man himself, but the principle he revealed. The brain does not age because time passes. It ages because signals stop reaching it. When the brain is underfed with oxygen and blood, it slowly disconnects from parts of itself. But when circulation improves, even slightly, the brain responds almost immediately. This is why people often feel mentally sharper after walking, stretching, or standing upright after long periods of sitting. It's not imagination. It's biology. The brain is waking up because it's finally receiving what it needs. And the longer this pattern continues, the stronger those neural pathways remain. The tragedy is that most people wait until the damage feels obvious. By the time serious memory problems appear, years of deprivation have already passed. But the hopeful truth is that the brain remains adaptable far longer than most believe. Even small daily changes can shift its trajectory if they're applied consistently. In the next part, you'll learn about one simple movement pattern that takes less than a few minutes per day, requires no equipment, and plays a powerful role in restoring circulation to the brain. It may look almost too easy to matter, but its effects are far more profound than most people expect. The movement Mikulan relied on most looked almost ridiculous to outsiders. There were no weights, no sweat, no complicated technique. In fact, many people dismissed it at first glance, assuming something so simple could not possibly influence the brain. But this was exactly why it worked. It restored a natural function the body had quietly lost. The movement is based on gravity. When you rise onto your toes and then let your heels drop firmly to the ground, the body creates a powerful wave through the skeletal system. This wave pushes blood upward, activating circulation in areas that normally receive less flow, including the brain. Mikulan called this the gravitational impulse. He discovered that modern life removes this impulse almost entirely. Soft shoes, flat walking, elevators, chairs, and constant sitting prevent the body from using gravity as a circulatory tool. Over time, blood begins to pool in the lower body, and the brain receives less oxygen than it needs to stay fully alert. When this gravitational impulse is reintroduced, even briefly, circulation improves immediately. Tiny blood vessels that have been underused begin to open again. Oxygen reaches areas of the brain that may have been operating on minimal supply for years. The result is not dramatic at first, but it is unmistakable. People report a sense of mental lightness, as if pressure has been lifted from the head. Thoughts feel cleaner. Words come more easily. Attention stabilizes. These are not psychological effects. They are physiological responses to improved blood flow. Mikulan practiced this movement twice a day. He stood upright, rose onto his toes, and allowed his heels to drop naturally to the floor. No force, no strain, just a clean mechanical motion. He repeated this for about 1 to 2 minutes, focusing on posture and breathing calmly. The key was consistency, not intensity, not effort, just repetition over time. He believed the brain responds best to gentle signals applied daily, rather than aggressive stimulation applied occasionally. The nervous system prefers safety and rhythm, not stress. One of the most surprising outcomes was how quickly the brain adapted. Within days, Mikulan noticed improved focus during reading and problem solving. Within weeks, his memory sharpened. Names, details, and complex technical information became easier to recall again. This movement also had an unexpected emotional effect. As circulation improved, anxiety decreased. The mind became calmer, more grounded. This makes sense when you understand that poor blood flow often triggers stress responses in the brain, forcing it into survival mode. Today, many people unknowingly live in this state. They feel restless, forgetful, mentally tired, and emotionally flat. They assume it's age, but in reality, the brain is simply undernourished. When you restore circulation, the brain exits survival mode and re-enters clarity. However, Mikulin warned of one important rule. This movement must be done gently. Slamming the heels aggressively is not helpful and can strain joints. The goal is rhythm, not force. Think of it as reminding the body how gravity is meant to work with you, not against you. If you decide to try this movement today, do it barefoot or in flat shoes. Stand tall, breathe naturally, and treat it as a signal to the body, not a workout. The brain listens to signals far more than effort. In the next part, you'll discover why movement alone is not enough. Even with perfect circulation, the brain requires specific fuel to maintain memory and clarity. There is one natural substance that Mikulin trusted deeply, and its role in brain health may surprise you. Mikulin understood something most people never consider. Movement prepares the brain, but nutrition sustains it. You can improve circulation all you want, but if the blood carries poor fuel, the brain still struggles. Clarity requires both flow and substance. He believed the brain ages faster under constant stress. Not dramatic stress, but the quiet, daily kind. Worry, fatigue, noise, lack of recovery. Over time, this drains the nervous system and forces the brain to operate in emergency mode. When this happens, memory becomes secondary. Survival takes priority. This is where adaptogens entered his system. Mikulin was fascinated by plants that helped the body adapt rather than stimulate. He rejected anything that forced energy. Instead, he looked for substances that supported balance, resilience, and long-term function. One plant stood above all others in his research: ginseng. Used for centuries in Eastern medicine, ginseng was not a stimulant. It worked by improving oxygen delivery, stabilizing the nervous system, and reducing the biological cost of stress on the brain. Mikulin noticed that when ginseng was used correctly, mental fatigue decreased. Concentration improved. Thoughts felt steadier instead of scattered. Unlike caffeine, there was no crash. The brain remained alert without being overstimulated. He emphasized moderation and timing. Ginseng was taken earlier in the day, never in the evening. The dosage was small but consistent. He believed the brain responds better to steady support than large doses. What fascinated him most was how ginseng influenced memory indirectly. It didn't force recall. Instead, it created internal conditions where memory worked naturally. Blood flow improved. Neural inflammation decreased. The brain simply functioned as it was designed to. People who followed this practice often noticed changes in unexpected areas. Sleep improved. Anxiety softened. Mood stabilized. These changes matter because memory is deeply connected to emotional regulation. A stressed brain does not remember well. One man in his 70s described it perfectly. He said it felt like the fog in his head slowly lifted, not all at once, but layer by layer. He could read longer without fatigue. Conversations felt easier. He stopped losing his train of thought mid-sentence. Mikulin warned against one mistake many people make. More is not better. Ginseng must be cycled. After several weeks, a break is essential. This prevents the body from adapting too much and preserves sensitivity. The deeper lesson here is important. The brain does not want to be forced into performance. It wants support. When you remove constant stress and provide proper nourishment, the brain often heals itself. But Mikulin didn't stop there. He believed the most powerful brain support came not from exotic plants, but from something so simple that most people overlook it entirely. Something found in ordinary kitchens. Something that works quietly but consistently. In the next part, you'll learn about a simple mixture that nourishes the brain at the cellular level. It costs almost nothing, requires no special preparation, and yet plays a remarkable role in supporting memory and mental clarity over time. Mikulin often said that the most powerful solutions are usually the quietest ones. While people search for rare supplements and expensive treatments, they overlook what is already within reach. He He believed the kitchen was one of the most underestimated places for brain health. One of his most surprising discoveries involved two ordinary ingredients: honey and celery. Separately, they are familiar. Together, they create a unique effect on the nervous system and the brain. Honey is more than sweetness. It contains natural antioxidants that protect brain cells from oxidative stress. It supports blood flow and provides gentle energy without spikes or crashes. Unlike refined sugar, honey feeds the brain steadily. Celery, on the other hand, plays a very different role. It contains compounds that support neural signaling and reduce inflammation in the nervous system. It also helps regulate blood pressure, which directly affects how efficiently blood reaches the brain. When combined, these two ingredients create an environment where neurons communicate more effectively. Memory improves not because the brain is pushed harder, but because interference is reduced. Signals become cleaner. Focus stabilizes. Michelin recommended a simple preparation: fresh celery root, finely chopped, mixed with natural honey. Warm water added, never hot. The mixture was left to sit, allowing the compounds to blend naturally. He believed the timing mattered. Taken in the morning, before the day's stress begins, this mixture prepared the brain for sustained clarity. Over time, people noticed subtle but meaningful changes. Lists became easier to remember. Names surfaced faster. Mental fatigue decreased. An elderly woman once described it as mental warmth. Not excitement, not stimulation, but a steady sense of inner clarity. She said her thoughts stopped slipping away so easily. What makes this practice powerful is its simplicity. There is no pressure, no expectation of instant results. The brain responds slowly, but faithfully, when conditions improve. Michelin emphasized something crucial here. Consistency matters more than belief. Even skepticism does not prevent the brain from benefiting. Biology does not require faith. It responds to input. Many people abandon simple practices because they expect dramatic sensations. But the brain heals quietly. Improvement often shows up in everyday moments. Remembering where you place something. Recalling a detail from a conversation. Feeling less mentally exhausted by the afternoon. This is how lasting change happens. Not through shock, but through stability. But even with proper movement and nutrition, Michelin noticed one factor that could undo all progress if ignored: posture. The way the body holds itself throughout the day determines whether blood and oxygen reach the brain efficiently. In the next part, you'll discover why posture is not about appearance, but about memory, focus, and mental longevity. Posture is more than just standing tall. Alexander Michelin emphasized that slouching or hunching forward is not just a bad habit. It is a silent saboteur of your memory and mental clarity. When the head tilts forward, the spine compresses, the blood vessels supplying the brain are restricted, and oxygen delivery decreases. Over time, this slow deprivation affects focus, memory retention, and even mood. The consequences are subtle at first. You might notice minor forgetfulness or difficulty concentrating, and dismiss it as normal aging. But these small signs accumulate, gradually dimming your mental sharpness. Michelin's solution was elegantly simple and surprisingly practical. He encouraged stretching, reaching arms overhead, hanging from bars, and even walking with a book balanced on the head, old-fashioned exercises that retrain the body to maintain proper alignment. These movements open up the spine, improve breathing, and allow blood to circulate fully to the brain. And the results? Immediate and cumulative. Henry, a retired architect from Virginia, shared that after just 3 weeks of incorporating these exercises into his daily routine, he experienced a dramatic improvement. Not only did he sleep better, but he also regained the ability to solve mental challenges he had long forgotten. Tasks that once felt impossible became approachable again. His daughter was astonished. "Dad, it's like you're back to yourself. Sharper, more alert, more alive." Posture, Michelin explained, is not just about your spine. It's about your memory, your cognitive power, and your future. But even with movement, nutrition, and proper posture, Michelin insisted that one final element was crucial for maintaining a sharp mind: consistent mental exercise. He often said, "The brain is like a muscle. If you stop using it, it weakens, just like any other part of the body." And this was not a metaphor. Millions of older adults retire, slow down, and stop learning new things, gradually allowing their minds to fade. Michelin however, had a different approach. Every day, he challenged his mind, memorizing poems, learning new words in foreign languages, solving logic puzzles, and even revisiting the complex engineering details of aircraft engines he had designed decades earlier. He recommended a simple nightly practice. Every evening before bed, recall 5 new things you learned or experienced during the day. These could be anything: a new word, a friend's name, a recipe, a conversation, or an interesting fact. This exercise doesn't just train memory, it builds new neural connections, keeping the brain vibrant and alive. Linda from California, 82, began this ritual and within a month wrote the first chapter of her autobiography, something she had struggled to start for 10 years. She said, "I felt my brain wake up, as if a light had turned on inside me." Michelin stressed the importance of consistency. One missed day, and the brain begins to relax. 2 days, and it loses tone. A week, and you risk backsliding. It's like forgetting how to ride a bike. Once lost, some skills may never return. But the power of these 5 habits, movement, brain nutrition, adaptogens, posture, and mental exercise, cannot be overstated. Even after 70, even if you feel it's too late, it is never too late to regain clarity, focus, and confidence. Imagine 1 month from now, recalling names, dreams, and favorite stories with ease. Imagine your loved ones looking at you with admiration and surprise, noticing the spark returning to your eyes. Yes, you can feel alive again, but knowledge alone isn't enough. You must act. Start today. Check your posture. Do the gravitational pulse exercise. Prepare the honey and celery mixture. Write down 5 new facts every day. Feel the return of mental clarity. If you are still watching and find this information valuable, write the number 2 in the comments below so I know you're committed to revitalizing your brain. And if you haven't already, subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell to receive future life-changing tips. In our next video, we'll reveal everyday foods that you might be eating that quietly damage your brain. You won't want to miss it.